Today I want to talk about the AMC conversion and reverse split just announced by Aron. I want to explain exactly what's going to happen to your shares. I want to talk about the various different reasons as to why this is a good thing, but I do want to touch on some of the negative reasons as to why it could be a bad thing. So stay tuned and let's make some money. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So, you may have seen Aron's tweet saying also apes worked exactly as intended to let us raise needed cash, buy back debt, and explore mergers and acquisitions. He said, but a huge discount and arbitrage opportunity in the ape market price versus the common stock must be addressed. We'll hold a shareholder vote. It's time to convert ape preferreds into AMC common to eliminate that discount. Now, I think this part here of eliminating the discount is very, very important, which I'm going to touch on some later with some workings out as well. He also followed up by saying also a company as distinguished as AMC shouldn't let Wall Streeters wishing us harm drive us to being a penny stock. So in the shareholder vote, you can also consider a 1-for-10 reverse stock split. Simple arithmetic. If approved, the share count goes down, so the share price goes up. Now this has a double benefit of AMC avoiding becoming a penny stock and avoiding falling below $2 or $1 and being delisted, but it also acts as a form of a share count as all of the shares will be recalled and the float reduced. But again, that's something I'll touch on later as the QSIP numbers will be changing during this reverse split, but as I said, touch on it later. Now Aron also tweeted saying such important AMC news. We succeeded in raising another $110 million of equity capital. That's $272 million of new cash in 90 days. He's also arranged to get $100 million of debt converted into equity at a substantial discount. AMC is in a much stronger cash position. Now, so AMC has raised $110 million of new capital through the sale of ape units to Antara Capital LP. This is in addition to the $172 million worth of ape shares that were sold over the last 90 days to individual different investors. And he's also reduced debt by a $100 million principal amount of a second lien note due 2026, currently held by Antara as well, in exchange for approximately 91 million ape units. Now, I think this may actually be the majority of the ape units now sold. $110 million of ape at 66 cents per share is around 200 million shares. On top of that, you've got 91 million shares here. And obviously AMC just raised $172 million, I think selling off somewhere between 100 and 200 million shares. So that's what, 490 million ape units, and AMC had also previously sold off around 25 million apes, so that's the entire 516 million new apes sold. So I think there's now a circulating supply of 1 billion ape units when all is totaled up together. But Aron is also seeking a special shareholder meeting to vote on the following AMC Board of Directors proposals to convert APE into AMC common shares, which means there's around 1.5 billion AMC shares, and then to reverse split the number of AMC common shares at a 1-for-10 ratio. So there'd be around 150 million AMC shares in total. Now, I think this is important to remember that your apes are first going to convert to AMC common shares, and then your total number of AMC common shares will be reduced in a 1-for-10 ratio. Your apes aren't being reverse split and then converted into AMC after. Your AMC isn't being reverse split and then ape converted into that after. No, instead your ape is converting to AMC first, and then everything together is then being reduced by this reverse split. Now, Nate has tweeted saying it's too easy. The ape market cap or the market value is $8 billion. The AMC market cap is only $2 billion. He therefore said bringing ape back into AMC makes it worth $10 billion in total. AMC will again be worth $10 billion, around 5 times what it's currently worth. He said a reverse split forces a share count. 517 million shares reduces down into 51 million. Obviously then you have to add the billion of ape shares on top of that, so there's around 150 million shares total. But he said the hedgies can't locate shares now, and therefore how will they do it with almost 500 million less shares? You may say, Tom, aren't these ape shares being converted into AMC shares, and therefore these hedgies will have 1 billion new shares that they can use as false locates, or after the reverse split, 100 million new shares. But don't forget, we are holding the majority of those ape shares, and therefore we'll still be holding the majority of AMC shares after the reverse split and after the conversion. If anything, we own a larger percentage of the APE float than compared to the AMC float. So if anything, this will actually make it harder for these shorts to actually locate real AMC shares. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Nate tweeted saying, research time. APE is the #1 stock bought today. AMC is the #3 stock. And that's from Yahoo. He said, but look at the market cap for APE. It's 8.6 billion or 6,880,000,000 shares at a $1.1 per share ratio. He said, wasn't APE given on a 1-for-1 basis? How did that happen? How has APE supposedly got 6 billion actual shares existing? Now, I think that really is due to the significant number of APE synthetic shares that have been created over the last few months, even outweighing the number of AMC synthetics created. That's how these shorts pushed APE down from $10 to below $1 so fast. They didn't just create 1 billion or 2 billion synthetics, they created maybe 6 billion or even more. You may say, Tom, when the APE shares are converted into AMC shares, is it going to expose these hundreds of millions, if not billions of synthetic APE shares during the conversion? I would like to hope and say yes, but what we've seen recently is even during share conversions, during reverse splits, during special dividends, it still yet hasn't exposed the true number of synthetic shares. But what I think this APE to AMC conversion will do is massively suck up the available margin that many of these hedge funds have, which is dwindling day by day. Don't forget, APE is converting to AMC on a 1-for-1 basis. This means a 60-cent or a $1 stock is converting into a $5 stock. This means the hedge fund's short position is about to increase by 5 times overnight. For example, let's assume these hedge funds are shorting 1 billion synthetic AMC shares. 1 billion synthetic AMC shares at $5 per share is around $5 billion. Now, we know the hedge funds had to short more APE shares to drop the price so fast and try and scare retail investors into selling their APE shares. Therefore, let's assume they're shorting 3 billion APE shares. Maybe that number's even higher, maybe it's 6 billion, or maybe it's even higher than that. But 3 billion synthetic shares being shorted at $1 per share or $1.20 per share, which is the closing price today, is only $3.6 billion. Therefore, these hedge funds have been shorting 3 times as many APE shares, but it's only cost them slightly over half of the price that it cost them to short those billion AMC synthetics. But now, what happens when these 3 billion APE synthetics convert into 3 billion AMC synthetics? Well, all of a sudden, overnight, their 3 billion APE short position worth $3.6 billion increases overnight to 3 billion AMC shorts worth $15 billion. That is an overnight increase of $11.4 billion these hedge funds all of a sudden have to find that will dig into their margin requirements, potentially causing them to fail these margin calls. We especially know these hedge funds are short on margin, especially over the last few days when the S&P 500 has been falling, and especially over the last year as the S&P 500 is down over 20%. That's trillions and trillions of dollars that have been wiped out from the S&P 500. Now, very interestingly, Biggums has tweeted a story in 2 parts about how the shorts actually located shares for their APE shorting. Now, Fidelity originally tweeted saying, thanks for reaching out. If a person was short 1 share of AMC on the ex-dividend date on August 22nd when APE was released, they'd be short 1 share of AMC and 1 share of APE on August the 23rd. But however, shareholder equity remains the same since there is no share locate requirement related to a special dividend. Therefore, when APE was originally released, there was no share locate requirement originally when these AMC shares were split off and the dividend for APE issued. Therefore, these shorts weren't forced to close out of their AMC short positions when APE was originally issued, and there was no original share locate requirement. But TD Ameritrade has confirmed on the conversion of APE back into AMC that there is now a share locate requirement, and shorts will be forced to close on TD Ameritrade. They said APE is a marginable security that is in our HTB or hard to borrow program for shorting. If there is a specific date the reorganization is going to happen, and depending on what the reorganization is, we would reach out to the short positions and ask them to close those positions the day before the reorganization takes place at the latest. Now that APE is being converted back into AMC, which is not a special dividend, there is now a share locate requirement, and anybody shorting APE must locate real shares. Obviously, anyone currently shorting APE must locate AMC shares on the date of the actual conversion. That's why there's this new share locate requirement, and that's why TD Ameritrade will be asking APE shorts to close out before the conversion or during the conversion. Now that I think is really, really important. Not only is their short position going to increase by 5 times their current position, but they also have a new share locate requirement, and they don't have the advantage of having those FTX synthetics or FTX tokenized securities that they can use for those false locates. Bigham's also tweeted saying other splits haven't worked, but other splits didn't have an entire movement behind them, which the stock is literally named after. Obviously, we've seen over the last few weeks a number of different reverse splits on COSM and a number of different entities like MMTLP going private or splitting off and combining with a completely new company. But the main difference is that these stocks were small OTC penny stocks and didn't have an entire AMC 8 movement behind them. He also tweeted saying MMTLP people, AMC is not going private, it's just a conversion, which is 2 completely separate things. MMAT and MMTLP got halted prior to going private for days also, which won't happen to AMC as AMC is not going private. But I did also want to quickly mention and quickly touch on some potential downsides. Tendy Baron tweeted saying, in case you have any doubts whether the APE to AMC conversion will pass, it says as part of that new share sale agreement, as part of the agreement, Antara has agreed to hold their APE units for up to 90 days and vote them at the special meeting in favour of the proposals. So that's what, 290 million shares that are guaranteed to say yes to the APE to AMC conversion and say yes to the reverse split. Now obviously if this hedge fund has bought up nearly 300 million APE shares, they obviously want the conversion to go ahead, which just seems a little bit sketchy. Jeremy, the CEO of CRTD, also tweeted saying, as a CEO, I empathise, but it's gone far beyond simple arithmetic. He said a reverse stock split doesn't benefit shareholders because it doesn't change the market cap or the fundamentals. But he said it does expose the stock to further naked shorting and more room for the stock to drop. And he said CEOs need to unite as a block against naked shorting. I haven't yet fully digested as to whether the APE to AMC conversion and the reverse split is a good thing or a bad thing, and I think it's going to take a few more days for all of the DD to be done. But I do hope this video has at least given you some ideas as to whether the APE to AMC conversion is a good thing, and I hope it's answered some of your questions. But guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.